A question we writers are often asked is, where do you get your ideas from? Do you plan? Is it to do with something that actually happened in your life? Is it purely the imagination working its magic? And that's really interesting, actually. For me, it's a very strange one. It's almost as if ideas, excuse me, even phrases, whole paragraphs just appear as if by magic, as if I've sort of, I don't know, rubbed the genie button, as it were. So, for example, when I wrote my first novel, which was a long, long time ago, I suddenly had this vision of Leonard Woolf, as in Virginia Woolf's husband, with a pronounced tremor, which historically he actually did have, talking about his feelings of unease when she had disappeared. And this came from nowhere. Although I did an English degree, I didn't actually study Virginia Woolf as part of it, although I had done some background reading. And this sudden appearance, this really strong voice of Leonard Woolf, just came out of nowhere and into the head of a 25-year-old woman. How weird is that? My second novel, which I wrote about a year later, and which in the end turned out to be called Under Kader Idris, started in some ways in a very similar way. I was just, I don't know, it was my second year of teaching or third year, I can't remember now. And I was perhaps pottering about doing nothing. I can't remember what I was doing. Maybe I was sort of overdosed on marking or something. But again, suddenly into my head came these phrases from nowhere. And I can remember, although I actually tweaked it slightly for the final thing, the phrases that came into my mind were as follows. The mountains unclouded, they were purple, sharp pointed, rain bristled. Two young hares, rump to rump, like duelling pistols. And I went on from there. And it was so clear in my mind, that whole scene, but it almost as if it had been given to me. It wasn't a conscious thing. And at the age of 25, 26, I just kind of, I was fairly recently away from university and I just sort of took it for granted. But now at an extremely older age, I think, well, that was actually quite strange. Where did it come from? Where does this inspiration come from? And this is true whether you're an artist or a musician or a writer. There is this thing, this energy, this amazing energy which we call inspiration and which just visits us sometimes and gifts us with these amazing phrases or poems or colours or beautiful music. And it's like a miracle. Aren't we lucky? We're so lucky to have that. And I think it's so precious. We mustn't take it for granted because it could leave us at any moment. Well, eventually, Under Kader Idris, as I believe I said in a previous video, did actually win first prize for a small competition. And I remain incredibly fond of it and proud of it. And although I have now written and published 10 books, something about those two, written when I was so young, relatively speaking, and if you like, the genesis of the inspiration that I recognise to this day is really touching, and it almost makes me cry sometimes thinking about it and how strange it is. And when you're a child, perhaps some of you can remember that more recently than me, but when I was a child, sometimes these pictures would come into my head and sometimes I would write them down in my little storybook, when I was 8 or so. But again, it wasn't conscious. It wasn't conscious planning. I would just suddenly get these pictures or these images or these feelings. Wonderful. And now what's really exciting is that I've finally set up my own page on Facebook, and it's called Alienora Browning Novelist. And it's sort of like, it's just so exciting because it's something I've longed to do for years and felt too scared. Because I have quite severe social anxiety, I don't do very well in, if you like, groups where there are lots of other people around. I feel completely overwhelmed. So having this Alienora Browning Novelist page is like a dream come true, and it's like wings opening so that I can fly. That's just so wonderful and so exciting. Thank you.